Tate. We've been here 3 years in the making and we're finally here.
My enemies truly believe in their heart I am the bad guy. It's the same with Trump. Trump can come along, secure their border, reduce the drugs, make them richer, fix their country, and they'll still hate him. Every time I've made millions and millions of dollars, the next day I prepare for something bad to happen. I'm competing against the world which is trying to convince young men that if they chop their dicks off, they become a girl.
I gotta be honest, I was expecting to walk into the house and there be stripper poles and, 13 Latinas in the lounge. And when I walked in, you were sat there, shirt off, laptop on, with Tristan, working away.
My life is just work, but that's boring, right? I don't think my mom has any problem with anything I say. She may have said a few times, Andrew, you're really making them mad. And I'll say, good. Every man knows it. Every man's seen it. No man will say it. What are they scared of?
Is this something you're facing every single day?
Yeah. There's a cost for everything.
Why do you want so much life admin with all these women and all these wives and all these children?
But look at Elon. He's done far more amazing things. He has 11 children from 4 women. He's the best Diablo player on the planet. He owns Twitter. He's going to space. He owns Tesla. He's now working for the government. It's amazing how much you can get done if you're genuinely dedicated to purely working.
But Elon stopped at 4 and Andrew hasn't.
No, I haven't. Men build the cities. Men build the roads. Men build. Women give us the children. Well, birth rates are collapsing. And we've built more than we've ever built.
Me and you both know that feminism wasn't created by women, it was taught to women. How many wives did your dad have, though?
Say again?
How many wives did your dad have?
The man will sit there and go, I love my chick, I'm loyal. If you go into a store that sells bananas, and that's all it sells, and you buy a banana, you can't say you like bananas. There's no options.
Are you two in the cell together eventually?
Yeah. At the first we weren't, but then...
There's a few stories about female prison guards that I've heard that may or should be told on this podcast.
I mean, I can say some really controversial things. In fact, I'll say them. Let's go.
Andrew Tate. We've been here 3 years in the making and we're finally here.
Yeah, I think we were talking back in Dubai before my adventure through the Romanian legal system. We were talking about perhaps doing something back then, but I got caught up with a small issue.
You've been on your own path, something which we couldn't see coming.
Well, I would say I've been on DCOT's path. I've been on the judicial system's path, but it's been enjoyable. It's been interesting.
I wanted to start with a question that I think will allow you to clarify and articulate exactly what's going on in your life and world right now, because you've been called the savior of young men and a danger to society. Do you see the truth in both perspectives?
Absolutely. There's always truth in both perspectives. How can you be the savior of young men without also being a danger to society, especially a society which is demonizing young men? If the society is deliberately trying to demonize masculinity and damage young men and destroy the masculine spirit of resistance, then you are their savior and a threat to society at the same time. I understand why my enemies call me a threat. I understand why they don't like what I say. I understand why they want me to disappear. But that doesn't mean I'm not helping the people who I'm trying to help. So in fact, I would say that it'd be impossible for the first statement, that I'm the savior of young men, to be true without being deemed a threat. So there's no light without dark. Equal and opposite forces is extremely important, which is actually why I believe I'm so monumentally well known. My haters don't realize that without the opposite pushback, without the opposing force to the things I say, I wouldn't be nearly as viral anyway. The fact that every single thing I post, half the people agree, half the people hate me, the comment sections go wild, the algorithm picks it up. It's like they do me a favor, these people trying to get rid of me. And they're threatened by me, and they're threatened by my ideas, and I understand why, because my ideas are based in the reality of brutal competence. I believe that life is a meritocracy, and those who deserve to win are going to win, and those who try hard are going to win, and that the universe gives everybody what they deserve. And if you have everything you've ever wanted, you deserve it. And if you don't have what you want, you don't deserve it. So the liberals and the people who hate me, who sit around on on anxiety meds and Xanax, or sad, and they're depressed and they're overweight, they look at the world in a completely different way. To adopt my mindset would be destructive to them, because then they have to admit that they are the reason they failed. Instead, they rather pretend someone else is the reason they failed, or something else. Systematic racism or capitalism. So they don't like to adopt my worldview. So for that reason, they see me as a threat, because if my worldview is adopted, then people like them will be seen as what they are, which is losers. And losers don't want to be recognized as losers globally. So I completely understand it. Both of those statements are absolutely true.
Who do you see as your enemy right now?
Well, I think we all have enemies. You can look at it from the perspective of people who make rap songs after living in the ghettos, saying that if you don't have haters, you don't matter. Or you can look at the highest level politicians on the planet. If you don't have people trying to take you down, you don't matter as a person. If you don't have a criminal case in a country like Romania after being globally famous, you're nobody. I mean, this is Romania. I'm one of the famous people in the world. Of course I caught the case. It's just one of those countries. It's how the world works in most places. You'd catch a case in America. Trump did. Matt Gaetz did. All these people who are high level in the Trump admin are catching cases for saying a fraction of the things I've said. And we're in a country now which can be bought. So of course I caught a case. So it's just the way it is. I don't think you're ever going to be able to go through life and do anything significant without having a huge portion, a huge considerable contingent of the population desperate to try and induce your downfall. And I'm happy for that. I know it's kind of cliche to say that my haters are a symbol of success, but when I see people making accounts dedicated to trying to damage my influence and damage my happiness or my contentment, I am flattered. I'm genuinely flattered by that. That's how I know I'm doing well. So you need the equal and opposite forces. There wouldn't be fan accounts if there wasn't hater accounts. I really am, truthfully, a light and dark guy. I always have been. I've never looked at the light in my life and expected it to exist outside of the dark. Every time I've made millions and millions of dollars, the next day I prepare for something bad to happen. That's just how my mind works. I'd make all that money and I'd sit there and I'd be stressed. And the chick would say, why are you stressed? You just got paid $30-40 million. Why are you stressed? And I say, no, because this is when the bad thing comes. Now I'm worried. I'm preparing for the bad thing. There's no such thing as a free $30 million. There's no such thing as free being the most famous man in the world. These things have a cost. These things have a price. And it has to be paid.
I gotta be honest, I was expecting to walk into the house and there be stripper poles and, 13 Latinas in the lounge. And when I walked in, you were sat there, shirt off, laptop on, with Tristan, working away. It's like, I think the perception that people have potentially on the outside and what's actually going on in your day-to-day life isn't in polarity.
Oh, absolutely, because my life is just work. But that's boring, right? But that's the truth about it. I'm on my laptop all day, every day. I have 18 hours a day of screen time. I'm either training or I'm working. Do I know some women? Yes, of course. Do I have some fancy cars to drive? Yes. Can I go to the odd restaurant? Yes. But the majority of the time, all I do is work because that's what I enjoy to do. I don't think most things outside of work are as entertaining as the work itself. That's why I'm successful. Yeah, I do have women who I know, and yeah, I can have that crazy lifestyle, and I did it for a while. But I wouldn't even say it's empty. People get successful and they start to say, oh, I'm above that. It's empty, it's vaporous. That's true. I just don't think it's as fun as working. I think just winning is fun. I think the whole point of life as a man is competition in the first place. You need to work to win. You can show off the women and cars and money and traveling and private jets and lifestyle are an easy way to peacock and show off your success. There's a word I'm looking for. I never lose my words. What's the word I'm looking for? Can't find it. Very unusual. But they are a result of success. So what you do is when you make a whole bunch of money, you can't just show your bank balance all the time, right? So instead you show a lifestyle. That's what you do. You show a lifestyle to say, look how successful I've been. Here's how fantastically I've done in my business. So here's the lifestyle to reflect it. But once you get to a certain point where you're known internationally for that lifestyle and you're known globally for making the money, you don't need to show off anymore. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just rather just make the money. It is kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying I'll never do it. I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm not trying to pretend I'm a saint. But most of the time, I'm just working.
Quick one for you guys. If you're loving this conversation and you're getting immense value, consider hitting that subscribe button and turn the notification bells on, as it lets us know that we're creating the right content for you at the right time.
Yeah, I think you have to show the lifestyle to some degree in order to attain not only the influence that you have on the world, but in terms of your businesses are attached to the lifestyle. People are aspiring to that lifestyle to get involved in working with you, to come to your university and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, that's part of it. But yeah, and also we live in an attention economy, which is another part of it. But I think that I break it down in a different way. I think a lot of people see me doing the things I'm doing and they don't understand exactly why I'd go down such base instincts. In fact, I've been insulted with that. They're like, Andrew Tate's made all this money. All he wants to do is sleep with women and drive cars and go on jets and show off and spend money. But when you're trying to, in a feminized world, when you're trying to appeal to young men, the easiest way to do that is their base instincts. I mean, we can sit and talk all day about how civilized we are. And we are. We're a civilized society. We're civilized people. But there's also animalistic base instincts we all have. One of the base instincts that men have is the procurement of females. They like the idea of having sexual access. Because typically it's the females that have the sexual choices, not the men. Most men take what they can get. To be a man with sexual choices is unique in the world. Always has been. Kings had multiple women, and the average dude was lucky that he got one. That's just how it worked. A lot of men got none, and they died without children. So there's sexual access, and then geographical freedom's another one. Just being in a different location every day, a different country every day for a month is a completely different lifestyle that most people live. So it's just showing that you're not constrained by the matrix and you're trying to appeal to people's base instincts, which is freedom, sexual access, the capability of making money, and having also brotherhood is an extremely important one. The reason I'm always with my brother and I'm always with my friends, a lot of guys are I wouldn't say jealous or envious of, but they look at that and say, that's the life I want to live. All men want to live that way. So yeah, it is my life. They are the things I like to do. But primarily it is part of the appeal for the young men who are growing up in the world today, because what is the alternative they're being told? You have to be a polar opposite to the thing you're trying to destroy. And I may be an exaggerated polar opposite. There are some people who agree with me who say, yes, you know what, you say the right things, but you say them too strong or you do it too much. I'm an exaggerated polar opposite, but I'm competing against the world which is trying to convince young men that if they chop their dicks off, they become a girl and that men can have babies. So who's the exaggerated one? They are. They're the exaggerated psychopath. So I've had to create an exaggerated character to counterbalance it. Perhaps if we lived in a world of sanity, my exaggerated version of masculinity and sexual access and money and all these things wouldn't be required. But it is. So you have to fight fire with fire. I wouldn't even say that my exaggeration is purposeful, but it's kind of interesting. We can actually analyze this from a completely different point. It's interesting how, you know, when you're a child and they say, don't do that, it makes you want to do it. It's interesting how even as grown-ups, we're exactly the same, right? We're living in a world now where if I go on a yacht with a whole bunch of beautiful women, all the feminists get upset. If they didn't get upset, I wouldn't want to do it. But now when I'm filling up my yacht, I'm like, if I get even more girls, they'll get more mad. And they motivate you by their discontentment. That's just how the world works. We're all, to a degree, human. We're all, to a degree, paid. We're all, to a degree, going out there trying to annoy our enemies. So it's kind of how it works. So it's interesting, if we wanted to do a thought experiment, how the more extreme a viewpoint, how it creates in and of itself the equal and opposing extreme viewpoint. If they were sensible, I would be less extreme. But they're not sensible, so I am more extreme. Not even on purpose. It's just how they're self-fulfilling prophecies, because there is no light without dark.
Yeah, there isn't. And what is your opinion of how you operate as a man from like your mom and your sister and